Have you ever seen somebody out in like the wild trying to take a wedgie out without using their hands? You completely see them like struggling for life. They're trying to take long strides. They're trying to spread their legs as far apart as they possibly can. It's just not a very comfortable thing to witness. I will say, as a society, we should just get to the point where we accept people trying to take their wedgies out. It's nothing abnormal, okay? It's just a normal part of society. Everybody gets them. Not only that, why haven't we engineered underwear that doesn't do that to you? We're sending people to the moon, but we can't quite figure that out yet. Anyways, all jokes aside, we're not here to talk about underwear engineering. We're actually here to talk about action figures, because if you guys haven't noticed, this is a channel where we talk about that. We talk about action figures, and in today's video we have a very special one for you guys. I'm totally joking. Nothing about this channel is really that special. It's just a video where I rant and hate on GameStop, okay? GameStop is essentially dead. Well, I mean, it's dead to me in a sense. I guess in general, it could be dead. I'm not sure. Look, here's the thing about GameStop. I haven't really been keeping track of this website in quite some time. I've mentioned it in previous videos, but I did run into a situation a few years ago, like right after the pandemic, where they started canceling a bunch of my pre-orders. And I'm not talking about like 1 or 2 figures. I'm talking about like sometimes over 10 action figures that I didn't have pre-ordered anywhere else. And as soon as they canceled my pre-orders, I was out in the wind. I didn't have any other alternative. All those figures had sold out through multiple different retailers, and then it was very difficult to find them in store. As you guys know, like right after the whole pandemic situation, it was very difficult to find certain Marvel Legends or certain DC Multiverse action figures, and that was pretty consistent all around. And the fact that GameStop was canceling my orders was absolutely ridiculous. But this goes even deeper than that. I'm not just here talking about the one time or the handful of times that they canceled multiple different figures. This is about how I think like GameStop has lost its core. I was checking the website the other day, and they're throwing this like graded card nonsense in your face. I don't understand why they're trying to jump into that particular space when they were kind of dominating the whole used video game market. Not to mention they have some weird retro consoles inside their store, and most of the consoles that they have on display are like super sun faded. They look like they haven't been touched in decades, and they're trying to pawn off that to their consumer base. It just makes absolutely no sense. I think they were trying to find a larger consumer base, but I think at the same time they're starting to lose those few consumers that they had at the very beginning. And as time has gone by, as time has progressed, I think more and more people are jumping off it. I mean, how many people out there buy like physical copies of their video games? I'm sure that there is a decent amount, but more and more we see people resort to like digital purchases of their video games, and now they're starting to push aside even their action figure consumer base. And as a prime example, you can look at some of their newer releases or some of their newer pre-order windows, where you have, for example, the Juggernaut Gamerverse Marvel Legends action figure. This was supposed to retail at $60 across all platforms. I think, as I've mentioned before, Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store are two of those retailers that usually struggle to keep up with like Amazon and Best Buy and so on and so forth. But it's just really interesting to see GameStop now falling into that same trend. The Juggernaut was marked up by $5, and then you even have the new Maximum Marvel Legends Deadpool marked up all the way to $60. This is supposed to retail at $50. You can actually pick them up on Amazon. You can pick them up on Hasbro Pulse, if I'm not mistaken, and a couple of other retailers at that $50 price point. And most of these places are already offering free shipping, or your shipping is a very small amount. In this particular case, if I'm not mistaken, you also have to order a certain amount to get that free shipping, which I think is like $59 on pre-orders, and then everything in stock I think is about the same price point. They also had the new Disney Plus Daredevil available. That one also is going for $30, and then the new Symbiote Gamerverse Spider-Man is also going for $30, which is absolute buffoonery. I was just able to pick up that same Symbiote through Amazon for $25 before taxes. So it's a savings of essentially $5. But let's assume, and again, per figure, it doesn't sound like an astronomically high amount, but you have to consider how much you're paying for each of these collectibles. It's only about like $25, $30, $35. So if somebody is marking it up by $5, it doesn't seem like a really big difference per figure. But if you account for the fact that you're purchasing potentially dozens, maybe hundreds of these action figures on a yearly basis, it definitely adds up. Let's just assume you're buying the maximum Deadpool along with the Gamerverse symbiote. You're actually paying a markup of $15. That's just on 2 figures here. Now let's assume that you just wanted to purchase the one figure. You're not interested in purchasing multiple different figures. Let's say you're just interested in like the Gamerverse or the Daredevil in this particular case. You'd actually be paying about $42 with shipping and taxes included. That's an absolutely ridiculous price point. And a lot of you guys may be wondering, well, why wouldn't you just be able to ship this to your local store and then save on, shipping that way? Or you could also pre-order at the store itself. Well, there's usually a loophole, like through the website. Sometimes it'll allow you to ship through the actual physical store and then you can save on shipping that way. And other times it doesn't have that option. So you're either going to ship it to yourself or you're going to have to drive to your local GameStop and have the person at the register, at the front register, pre-order the figure yourself, unless it's in stock, in which case they can't actually ship the figure to the store. They would actually have to look up on their database and figure out what store has this figure in stock, and then you would have to drive to that physical store and purchase the figure there yourself. The new Doom Eternal Elite action figure is another prime example. This is supposed to retail for $50. I've seen this on Amazon when it was in stock. I saw it at a number of different retailers. I actually saw it in person at a Walmart going for $50. Why is it that GameStop is offering it at $60? That's a $10 markup. As I mentioned before, like there was a time and a place where GameStop could keep up with Amazon and all of these other retailers. We didn't see it on par with entertainment and Big Bad Toy Store. Why is it that they're now reverting back to that? Why is it that they're giving us these extra markups for absolutely no reason? It's apparent to me that it seems that they're investing in other fan bases rather than the people that have essentially sustained GameStop afloat for all these years. Because if you enter a GameStop back in the day, let's say like 5-6 years ago, all you would find would be video games, consoles, gaming accessories, and a ton of different collectibles. You wouldn't find any buffoon, old-ass, crusty, retro consoles or video games. You wouldn't find any of these ridiculous graded cards. It's now gone to the point where you could actually find better deals through Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store than actual GameStop itself. Like you have some of the DC Direct Page Punchers action figures that are now retailing, well, they should be retailing at $25, but Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store and a few other retailers have them for $27.99. GameStop has actually marked these up all the way to $30. That just goes to show what bad situation they're in. And also, in case you're a big giant NECA fan, or if you're just starting to get into Beast Kingdom or the SH Figuarts line or Super 7 Ultimates or so on and so forth, most of those lines are not carried by GameStop. They may have a few exclusives here and there, or from time to time they'll have a wave that's available through their website, but for most of these collectibles, they're just not going to be available through GameStop. I don't know exactly why that is. Over the past few years, they've kind of thrown aside the collectible community more and more. And I'm not sitting here telling you that it's the end, that it's the doom of GameStop, but I do believe that in the long run, it could come back to bite them. Oh, and for all those GameStop simps that claim that there are great GameStop exclusive collectibles through their website, most of the like Funko Pop exclusives are not that great. Usually it's like a color variant of some kind, and sometimes they overstock way too many of them and they lose value almost immediately. Not that that should matter to you, but if you're buying it at retail and then within a few weeks you see it at like 80% discount, it's definitely going to drive you up a wall. Not to mention, what about those DC Multiverse or the DC McFarlane exclusive GameStop variants where it's essentially just like translucent plastic? It's the exact same DC action figure that you would normally receive, but now you get it in blue plastic form. That's it. That's the only difference. Are you impressed yet? Have you gotten a GameStop tattoo on one of your cheeks? And look, I'm not going to be a hypocrite because from time to time I will stop at a GameStop And from time to time, I do buy some collectibles there, or a video game that my kid is into, or a new controller, things of that nature, but only because there's usually like nobody in there. Like there's no foot traffic. I don't have to deal with lines. I don't have to deal with other customers the way that I have to deal with like at Walmart or Target. I can just get in and get out extremely quickly. And sometimes you'll pay that little extra markup just for the sake of the convenience as well. Sometimes it will have, you know, a little bit of a clearance here and there when it comes to controllers or action figures and things of that nature. But for the most part, I will say the amount of money that I used to spend on GameStop compared to how much I spend now is a joke. I would say I spend like 80% less than I used to, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I was a hardcore GameStop fanatic. I'm not even kidding you. I do have some GameStop sweatpants. They're black and they have the logo on the side. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I was a hardcore GameStop kind of guy, but as time has gone by, I think they're starting to lose their way. They're starting to lose their hardcore fan base. And yes, it's a fan base. It's not just a consumer base. Like there were people that were proud to wear the logo of GameStop on their t-shirt or on their sweatpants or on their hairy chest. Like maybe they got tattoos. I don't know. But I feel like as time has progressed, as time has gone by, I think of them as like the next hot topic. Like they were really cool, but then they lost their way and they eventually started to try to appeal to way more consumers and they lost their hardcore base. And it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I think that'll be the undoing of GameStop, because really, I think the whole graded card nonsense is just a little bit of a phase. I don't think that's going to have a long-term potential. We've seen it before with comic books. We saw it with Beanie Babies and so on and so forth. These type of fads kind of fade away after a while. So I think that's essentially what GameStop's going to be stuck with. And it definitely won't be a good look for them. But anyways, this is just my personal opinion, my personal rant. Sometimes I sound a little bit angrier than I am. I'm not that upset over it, but I am kind of frustrated with GameStop because I thought we had a good thing going. What's going on here? But let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to stay safe out there and, stay tuned with the channel because we do upload on a daily basis. And if you guys enjoy this type of rambling action figure content, this is kind of our MO, okay? Stick around. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.